My expectations, I think, are pretty managed. I think it's going to be really good, and I'm really excited, but I don't think my expectations are such that it will disappoint me. Um, like, I'm just expecting a really good Star Wars movie. I'm not expecting, like, a life-changing experience or anything that will... They're such that I will... Yeah, I won't be disappointed. But, I will say that my excitement is through the roof. Like, every day is just, like, dragging by. I'm, like, been counting down the days for the last, like, 2 weeks. We're on 5 to go right now. Doing runs kind of helps because it kills like an hour and a half. Yeah, you did earlier when you made me paint the bathroom. I know I do. That's what I'll do tomorrow for 2 hours. Friday night. I'm also seeing it Friday night. Thursday and Friday night. At any time anybody wants to go. What I've been telling people is there's no upper limit to the number of times I'm willing to go see this movie. It would have to be a level of awful that it won't be for me to not want to see it again. I like the prequels, guys. So my tolerance for bad Star Wars movies is very high. Like, there's no way this movie is going to be worse than the prequels. And I like the prequels. So I admit freely that they're bad. They're not good movies, but I enjoy them. They're fun. So I don't expect that this one will disappoint me. Opened paint in the what? Opened paint in the bathroom. Oh yeah, painting the bathroom. Yes, I did. I opened a can of paint. And then I put it all over the walls. Took me about 2 hours, but I did it all while Joy wasn't even here, so I surprised her when she got back. She was pretty shocked with how much I got done. Put the baby down for nap, the other boy in his room, and you're good to go. I really like Episode 3. I'd say Episode 3 is my favorite Star Wars movie. I think it just got the most interesting stuff happening in it, even though some of the acting's pretty bad and some of the dialogue is terrible. I just think it's got the most interesting story, the most interesting emotions going on, even if the actors don't fully portray those emotions. But then again, there really wasn't that good of acting in the original Star Wars movies either, so... See, Hayden Christensen, I don't blame anything on Christensen. Well, my point of view, the Jedi evil. Case in point, terrible dialogue. See, I think Hayden, any faults of the acting, I really blame George Lucas's directing, because I think there are scenes where Hayden Christensen is actually quite good, but overall, he's not, and I think it's because he's not directed, because in fairness, Natalie Portman is really bad too. And she's an Oscar caliber actress. Like, the only actor who's really any good... Well, there's a couple actors who are good in that movie. You've got Ewan McGregor is great as Obi-Wan. You've got Liam Neeson is obviously fantastic. Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine is really good. Christopher Lee as Count Dooku is phenomenal. But these are, like, mostly super talented, experienced actors at the time. Samuel L. Jackson is just Samuel L. Jackson, so it's hard to argue with that. Exactly, Jacket. So I mean, she's good, but she was terrible in the prequels. Like, Natalie Portman's performance is absolutely awful in the Star Wars prequels. Yeah, rest in peace, indeed, Christopher Lee. Like safety strats, I won't go around that barrel at the top over there. It's too easy to miss and die at that point, even though I'm pretty consistent at it. It's just not worth the risk for the tiny time save. Nope. Count Dooku or Qui-Gon? What's up, Sylvite? I am streaming again. This is actually the only run, too. I didn't have any resets yet. But I have had a death. Qui-Gon, duh. Wow, I didn't realize it was that obvious. Excuse me. But that's what Star Wars does, is the stories mirror each other. So it was important that, like, Anakin's initial mentor would be someone he'd lose pretty quickly. That happened, obviously, to Luke with Obi-Wan. I fully expect that in Episode 7, not all of the original characters are going to make it out. Because that's just, with the way Star Wars rhymes, even with, like, a different director, there's a mentor character in each of the first movies of the trilogies that doesn't make it. So, I won't say any predictions publicly, but I would be surprised if all three of the main characters made it out, or even, let's make it 4, let's include Chewie. Yeah, they gotta pass it on, exactly. You need a mentor. Well, it was a really, really sloppy, like, I basically hit the first rat in Lava Lagoon, so it was like a 8-second death at most. And then I lost another 2 seconds with movement in the level. So the only bad things so far were that and missing Vine Clip. You think Chewie? It could be Chewie. I mean, I wouldn't think it would be Chewie. I don't think he's kind of fits the mentor bill. With like a mentor character not making it out, I would predict Han or Luke not making it. I would expect Leia to stick around, but it could be, and I would think Chewie would too as a supporting character, but those would be my guesses. Exactly, yeah, and I think you're right about, you're absolutely right about Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. I think the movie I would most like to see them make as a new Star Wars movie is like an Obi-Wan movie starring Ewan McGregor, like maybe in the period after he's on Tatooine, like maybe he has some kind of adventure where he has to leave or do something. Like, I just think that would be fantastic, because to get him to revisit Obi-Wan with a good screenwriter and a good director. But it's my firm belief that the prequels, the storyline in the prequels is really, really good. Like Anakin's fall to the dark side and the things, his attachment issues and some of his insecurity, and those types of things driving him to the dark side. Like, it really wrestles with the question of, like, how could this good, innocent young boy who just nothing other than want to help people become the worst, like one of the worst people in the galaxy? Like, how does that happen? And I think the story that they're telling is really good. Like, the problem is that they didn't execute it very well. Oh well, whatever. And then the way that the Empire becomes the Empire, it's not like the Empire conquers the the Old Republic. The Old Republic becomes the Empire because they keep like voting more powers and they get so scared, and I mean, it's real modern issues, like how much security, how much freedom do you trade for security? You know, it's like these are like straight out of the headlines even then and now. So, and then people just, the best line Natalie Portman has in the entire trilogy is, "So this is how liberty dies," to thunderous applause. It's like really, like, it's a great line, and it's true. I mean, it's really sad that the Empire basically took over the same way Nazi Germany did. The people wanted it. The people voted those people and put them in power and let them stay in power. And so it's just really, it's a great story, but it was just so badly executed. Like the acting and the acting, I don't blame the acting, I blame the directing. I don't think the actors were very well directed. I don't think George Lucas could direct actors by that point in his career. And if you read stories, most people said he was never a strong suit at that. He was mostly a visionary. And I think the vision for the prequels was very good, but what he needed to do was give the story to a competent Hollywood screenwriter and hire another director. Anyways, that's my rant. My name is Antilles58, guys. I have an X-Wing as my profile picture, so... I'll review the next Star Wars movie. Episode 2 is painful to get through. I agree. It's painful like sand chafing at you. It's, when I think about what could have been for those movies, it makes me really sad. Now, a lot of people just hate the prequels outright and pretend they don't exist. I'm not like that. I can see past their flaws. I can see past the bad acting and ultimately get to fun movies. Like, think of Star Wars this way. If you were to take the dialogue of the prequels away, which is hard to do, but pretend it wasn't there, and just think of them as like silent films. Did I get that guy? I did. So basically you just have the music and the images. You have some really good movies. Like, they're really well done in that sense. No, I've had better runs than this. There's a lot of, I mean, I'm not even to the hard parts of the game yet, so it's not worth getting excited. You can start getting excited if I'm ahead after the first K. Rool fight, going into the zip. Until then, anything can happen. But yeah, but the zip is pretty safe, even if I miss the first one. You're right. No getting excited until I'm on the final K. Rool fight. No, I agree with you, Mew. It's not Hayden Christensen's fault. He was poorly directed and given really bad dialogue. I think he's unfairly scapegoated. And Jar Jar Binks is the same way. They're way worse. Jar Jar Binks is the thing people first mention when they talk about the prequels being bad. But he's not the worst thing in the prequels. Like, the acting and dialogue and other things are much worse. He's barely important in any way. He's just like a little bit of comic relief in the first one. And then they don't use him again. So it's like, whatever, get over it. And you know what? The other day, my kids were watching Phantom Menace, and Jar Jar came on, made his had his first scenes, and my 3-year-old ran over to the TV, the couch, and was like, "Is that Jar Jar?" And he was so excited to see Jar Jar, that he just sat down and had this big smile on his face. Oh, I've heard that Jar Jar is a Sith Lord theory. It's pretty funny. You need to watch the video about it, Joy. He's nowhere near as irritating as people say. Yes. I know. I get him on my way. I know my flight path very well in this stage. Yeah, but Star Wars, the great things about the prequels is the things I already talked about as far as the story goes, but the world building that happens, like the way that Star Wars, the universe grows, like more planets, more worlds, more cultures. You see the background of the Jedi. The story of the Jedi is really interesting, how they get so stuck in tradition and arrogance to be able to help Anakin deal with his own fear and his own pain. And ultimately that's what drives him to the dark side. You know, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. He starts off as a frightened little boy and they're not able to help him with that. And that's rough, because they can't see past their own pride. Like, these are cool story things, like in the way that you just learn so much more and see all this going on is really interesting. The lightsaber battles and space battles and pod racing and all that, the action is really fun. Like, it's just they're really fun movies. There's cheese, there's bad dialogue, but whatever. And on top of that, the music is absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best music ever. No way, man. I liked Jar Jar more. If the 3-year-old's not allowed to like Jar Jar, then there's something wrong with the world. No, dude, not a fanboy. Fanboy is usually negative and means blind to flaws, which I definitely expressed a lot of flaws. Like, I'm very conscious of the many, many weaknesses in Star Wars, especially the original trilogy. They're not perfect movies. I'm just a fan, a passionate fan. Yeah, exactly, Miyu. It's a cool thing. The funny thing about that is you can see it in Palpatine's eyes. That's why I say Ian McDiarmid did a great job as Palpatine. He's actually telling the story of his own Sith master, but the way he tells it as a legend, as a myth, is cool. Like, the way that Palpatine slowly seduces Anakin over to the dark side, playing on his fears, playing on his emotions, being the only one who will listen to him or give him anything. It's interesting. And here's the best part about the prequels is the way that it makes the end of Return of the Jedi better. Like, when you've seen Anakin go through some of the exact same situations Luke, and you saw how he dealt with his fear, and then how he turned to the dark side, and you see Luke then throw down his lightsaber and refuse to fight when he's given the opportunity to join the Emperor, unlike what Anakin did with Mace Windu. Like, Luke could have saved his friends by joining the Emperor, but he doesn't. Unlike Anakin, who had to join the Empire because he was so desperate to try to save his wife. And then in his desperation to save his wife, he ends up killing her. I mean, it's just like the irony there is crazy. But then on top of that, when the Emperor's about to kill Luke and you have all this in your mind about the reason Vader became Vader was because of love for his family and fear of losing his family, his redemption takes a whole nother level because he saves his family. Like, it's love for his family that brings him back. It becomes a better story. But on top of that, but beyond that, the movies are just terribly acted and poorly written, so they're bad, but they're good. Welcome to my stream, everybody. I've thought about this a lot. That's really unfortunate. Come on, cat. Come on, cat. Throw me in there. Throw me in there. Get in there. Dang it. No, I'm not risking the cat again. Hey, 10 to 40-year-old movies, if you haven't seen them by this point, it's your own fault. It's not spoilers anymore. Oh yeah, I agree with you, Omega, for sure. The Jedi, like, Anakin, or they basically, Yoda says, I sense much fear in you. Yoda knows how dangerous fear is, and they don't help him with it. Like, the kid just, like, was forced to leave his mom and ends up surrounded by a bunch of old dudes sitting in chairs judging him. Like, what a rough situation. They didn't help him at all. Yeah, it was at least 12 seconds lost. No worries, man. You don't have to. But you're not gonna make me not like it. That's my childhood. I actually had to do that exact same thing. We're talking more than 12 seconds lost now. I'd say 16 seconds lost. $14 seconds lost, alright. Just like Congress. Something very similar happened in my run earlier today, but it went worse then, and then this stage really ruined it for me. So that's why I hope that they somehow bring some of that back in the new movie. I know that the people responsible for the new movie aren't big fans of the prequels themselves, but I think it'd be really cool to find out that Luke has maybe researched some about the Jedi and learned some of this and learned some of their flaws, and that he's trying to rebuild the Jedi in a different way. I don't know what they're going to cover exactly as far as that goes in this movie, but I'd like to see something along those lines. But again, if they don't, that's fine. Like I said, I like the prequel, so it's hard to disappoint me when it comes to Star Wars. It's just fun. And if you're doing it for anything other than just fun, then I guess I can't help.